The clash of pads echoes across Eastvale University's practice field. Linemen grunt and collide in the Oklahoma drill, a brutal test of strength and will. Players form a tunnel, cheering and jeering as teammates square off. Jake Callahan stands. At the front of the defensive line, his muscular frame tensed like a predator. Sweat drips down his face as he slams another offensive player to the ground. "That's how you do it. Next victim," Jake shouts, pounding his chest. His teammates nod in reverence. The brick has been laying out opponents for 4 years, and his highlight reel of bone-crushing hits has NFL scouts taking notice. Coach Miller blows his whistle. "Rotate. Defense. New line." The offensive players drag themselves up, bruised but determined. As they shuffle back, a new figure approaches from the sidelines. He's shorter, stockier, moving with an uncommon gait. Danny Foster adjusts his helmet, his face beaming with enthusiasm despite the carnage he's walking into. His features are distinctive, the telltale signs of Down syndrome evident in his eyes and facial structure. "Who the hell is that?" Jake mutters to his teammate. "Foster. Walk on. Coach gave him a shot yesterday." Jake snorts. "You're kidding? Me, right? This some kind of charity case?" The offensive coordinator positions Danny at guard. "Foster, you're up." The field goes quiet. Players exchange awkward glances. Danny just nods, his focus unwavering as he takes his stance. This ought to be good, Jake says loudly. "Hey guys, looks like we got ourselves a team mascot." Some players laugh. Others look away, uncomfortable. Coach Miller shoots Jake a warning look. "Callahan, you're up against Foster." Jake strides forward, towering over Danny. "Listen, buddy, this isn't Special Olympics. This is college football. You understand what you're doing here?" Danny looks up, unfazed. "I'm playing football." "You won't last a week," Jake says, his voice dripping with condescension. "First hit, you'll be crying for your mommy." Danny settles into his stance, eyes forward. "I don't cry." Jake laughs, turning to his teammates. "Did you hear that? He doesn't cry." His voice drops to a mocking whisper. "We'll see about that." Coach Miller positions himself between them. "Standard Oklahoma drill. On my whistle." Jake leans forward, his eyes locked on Danny. "I'll go easy on you. Wouldn't want to hurt the mascot." Danny's expression doesn't change. He simply adjusts his footing and says, "Let's go one-on-one." Laughter ripples through the players. Someone whispers, "This'll be over in 2 seconds." Coach Miller's whistle pierces the air. Jake explodes forward, driving his shoulder into Danny's chest. The impact is brutal, efficient. Danny crashes backward onto the turf, air forced from his lungs. Jake stands over him, grinning. Welcome to college football. Players expect Danny to stay down, to quit, to realize he doesn't belong. But Danny simply rolls to his side, pushes himself up, and returns to the starting position. "Again," he says, settling into his stance. Jake shrugs. "Your funeral." The whistle blows a second time. Jake charges with even more force, his 240-pound frame becoming a battering ram. Danny braces better this time, absorbing the initial shock before losing ground. He stays on his feet for 3 seconds before Jake drives him down. "Stay down, man," Jake says. "You're embarrassing yourself." Danny gets up again. No anger, no fear, just determination. Again. The third collision is the loudest yet. Jake, now irritated by Danny's persistence, hits with everything he has. Danny slides backward but manages to keep his balance longer than before. When he finally falls, the impact seems to shake the ground. Jake stands over him, chest heaving. "You don't get it, do you? You can't win this." For the 4th time, Danny rises. His jersey is stained with grass and dirt. A trickle of blood runs from his nose. He wipes it away, fixes his helmet, and lines up again. Jake glances at Coach Miller, expecting him to end this. The coach just watches, his expression unreadable. Last chance to quit. Jake says, genuine confusion in his voice. Why keep getting up? Danny shrugs. Why stay down? The whistle sounds again. This time, Jake's charge is met with better technique. Danny's center of gravity drops. His feet plant wider. He absorbs the hit, gives ground strategically, and though Jake eventually overpowers him, it takes significantly longer. By the 6th rep, Jake is breathing hard. Danny is too, but his determination hasn't wavered. His technique improves with each collision. What the hell? Jake mutters after Danny stands up for the 7th time. Players are no longer laughing. Some are watching with newfound respect. On the 8th collision, Danny actually manages to stalemate Jake for several seconds before being driven back. Coach Miller finally blows his whistle 3 times, ending the drill. As players disperse, the offensive line coach approaches Danny, studying him with newfound interest. "That's enough for today, Foster," he says quietly. Then, almost to himself, he's got something. 3 days later, Danny opens his locker to find his cleats filled with shaving cream. Nearby, Jake and a couple of defensive players snicker. Danny doesn't react. He simply empties the cleats, cleans them methodically, and puts them on. During practice, Jake knocks Danny's water bottle over accidentally. Danny picks it up, refills it, continues his drills. "What's wrong with this guy?" Jake asks his teammate. It's like he doesn't get when he's being messed with. In the film room, players slouch in chairs as Coach Miller reviews yesterday's practice footage. Danny sits in front, notebook open, pen moving constantly. "Take a look at this," Coach Miller says, freezing the screen on Danny's pass blocking. Technique. "Foster, you're keeping your pad level consistent. Good base, good hand placement." Danny nods, making another note. "The rest of you," Coach continues, gesturing to the other offensive linemen, "could learn something from his discipline. Foster doesn't take plays off, doesn't get lazy with his technique." Jake rolls his eyes. "Yeah, but can he actually stop?" "Anyone." "Funny you should ask, Callahan." Coach Miller advances to new footage. This is from yesterday. The screen shows Danny successfully holding his ground against a second-string defensive end. His form is textbook perfect. "Foster follows instructions to the letter," Coach says. "When we make an adjustment, he implements it immediately. No ego getting in the way." After film study, players file toward the weight room for afternoon lifting. Jake nudges his friends as Danny approaches the squat rack. "This should be good," Jake whispers. "Let's see what the water boy can do." Danny loads the bar methodically. 25 pounds, then 275, then 315. Players start noticing. Conversations die down. Danny adds another plate, 365 pounds. He positions himself under the bar, takes a deep breath, and completes 3 perfect reps, his face showing intense concentration but no strain. "No way," a freshman defensive back whispers. Jake watches, his smirk fading. "Beginner's luck. Let's see him try 4 plates." As if hearing the challenge, Danny adds another 45-pound plate to each side. 405 pounds. Half the team is watching now. Danny positions himself again, lifts the bar, descends into a perfect squat, drives up once, twice, 3 times. "Jesus," someone mutters. Jake's expression hardens. "So he can lift. Big deal. Football isn't a weightlifting competition." The offensive line coach approaches with his phone showing a video to Coach Miller. Coach Miller's eyebrows raise as he watches. "Gentlemen," Coach Miller calls out, getting everyone's attention. "Coach Taylor just showed me something interesting. This is Foster's lifting video from his application." He holds up the phone. The video shows Danny deadlifting 500 pounds. Turns out our newest lineman might be the strongest player on the team. Jake slams his locker shut. 3 weeks of practices, and Danny is still here. Worse, he's improving daily. "This is ridiculous," Jake mutters to his roommate, Mike. "Coach has him running with the second team now." "Kid's earned it," Mike says with a shrug. His technique is solid. Are you serious? You think he belongs? Here? Looking like that? Talking like that? Mike hesitates. I don't know, man. Maybe you should ease up. Jake's eyes narrow. Don't tell me you're buying into this inspiration porn bullshit. Wednesday's practice features a full contact scrimmage. First-team defense against second-team offense. Jake lines up opposite Danny, who's playing right guard. Ready for a real football lesson? Jake growls. Danny just nods, eyes focused on the defensive alignment. At the snap, Jake bull rushes directly at Danny. Danny absorbs the impact, feet moving in short, powerful steps. His hands find Jake's chest, controlling the point of attack. Jake is stunned to find himself neutralized. He can't get past Danny. After the play, Jake shoves Danny. Lucky block. The next snap, Jake tries a swim move. Danny counters perfectly, using Jake's momentum against him. The running back cuts through the hole Danny helps create, breaking into the secondary. Coach Miller claps. Good job, Foster. Way to sustain. Jake's frustration mounts with each play. Danny continues to hold his ground, executing his assignments with machine-like precision. By the 10th play, Jake is seething. When the ball is snapped, he attacks with a reckless fury. The quarterback releases the ball quickly, but Jake doesn't. Stop. He drives through Danny after the whistle, knocking him backward to the ground. Callahan, Coach Miller shouts. That's late. What the hell are you doing? Jake ignores him, standing over Danny. Staying down this time, retard? A shocked silence falls over the field. Players from both sides freeze. Coach Miller storms over. Callahan, get off my field, now! Danny slowly gets to his feet. There's a different look in his eyes now. Not anger exactly. Something more controlled, more focused. Jake backs away, chest heaving. What? I'm just playing football. That wasn't football, Coach Miller says. That was a cheap shot, and that language has no place on my team. It's fine, Coach, Danny says quietly, adjusting his helmet. No, Foster, it's not fine, Coach replies. I can handle it, Danny insists, moving back to the huddle. Coach Miller points Jake toward the sideline. You're done for today. We'll talk later. As Jake reluctantly walks off, Danny turns and calls after him. Hit me again, Danny says, his voice steady. See what happens. The next day's practice carries a different energy. Players watch Jake and Danny with wary anticipation. Word of yesterday's confrontation has spread through the team. Coach Miller stands at midfield, clipboard in hand. Today, we're focusing on one-on-one pass protection, offense versus defense, isolated matchups. Jake paces at the edge of the drill area, helmet already on, eyes fixed on Danny. Coach Miller deliberately pairs other players first, making Jake wait. Finally, Coach calls out, Callahan versus Foster. Players form a circle around them. Even the assistant coaches move closer. Pass protection only, Coach Miller reminds them. Defender tries to get to the cone behind the blocker. Blocker prevents it. 10-second reps. Jake adjusts his helmet, stepping onto the marked area. No free passes today, water boy. Danny simply takes his stance, eyes forward, hands ready. Coach Miller raises his whistle. Remember, this is about technique, not... The whistle never reaches his lips. Jake explodes forward, charging at Danny with unbridled fury. This isn't practice technique. This is personal. Danny sets his base, drops his hips, and prepares for impact. Jake hits him like a freight train, driving with his legs, trying to run, through Danny's chest. But Danny doesn't move. His cleats dig into the turf. His body absorbs the collision, redirecting Jake's force instead of resisting it directly. His hands find perfect placement on Jake's chest, controlling the point of attack. Jake pushes harder, his face contorting with effort. Danny's expression remains focused, almost serene. His technique is flawless. Leverage, angle, hand placement. everything the coaches have been teaching. 5 seconds pass. Jake can't move him. Jake tries changing tactics, attempting to disengage, and swim around Danny. But Danny mirrors his movement perfectly, staying square, maintaining contact. 8 seconds. Jake still hasn't reached the cone. Jake makes one final, desperate lunge. Danny shifts his weight, uses Jake's momentum against him, and redirects him to the ground. Jake stumbles, loses his balance, and falls face-first into the turf. The whistle finally blows. Silence hangs over the practice field. Jake pushes himself up, ripping off his helmet. "Lucky move. That's not how you block." The offensive line coach steps forward. "Actually, that's exactly how you block. Perfect technique beats raw power every time," players murmur in disbelief. Jake Callahan, the team's dominant force, just got stonewalled by the kid everyone had written off. Coach Miller surveys the scene, then looks at Danny with newfound appreciation. "I think we just found our strongest guy." Friday's practice. The last session before tomorrow's game against State. The energy is electric as players file onto the field in full pads. Coach Miller gathers the team at midfield. Final preparation today. Full contact scrimmage, first team against first team. Murmurs ripple through the players. Danny stands with the offensive linemen, no longer relegated to the second string. Jake paces with the defense, shooting glares at Danny. He hasn't spoken a word to anyone since yesterday's humiliation. "Foster," Coach Miller calls out, "you're starting at right guard today." More murmurs. A senior player is being benched for Danny. Jake steps forward. "Coach, permission to line up opposite Foster?" Coach Miller studies Jake's face, searching for signs of malice. "Granted, but keep it clean, Callahan. This is about preparation, not personal vendettas." The teams line up for the first play. A simple inside run designed to go right behind Danny. Jake positions himself directly across from Danny, eyes burning with intensity. "Let's see what you've really got," Jake hisses through his face mask. The ball is snapped. Danny drives forward, engaging Jake. Immediately, their pads crash together with a thunderous collision. Danny gains initial leverage, creating movement. The running back follows Danny's block, gaining 7 yards before being tackled. "Again!" Coach Miller shouts. Same play. They reset. This time, Jake adjusts his technique, trying to shoot the gap. Danny anticipates the move, seals the edge, and creates an even bigger hole. The running back gains 12 yards. Jake slams his fist into the ground. That's not happening again. Third play. Jake calls an audible to the defense, shifting the coverage. At the snap, he and a linebacker both blitz the same gap, trying to overwhelm Danny with numbers. Danny handles both of them, incredibly. He stones Jake with his right arm while picking up the blitzing linebacker with his left. The quarterback has time to find an open receiver downfield. Play after play, Danny continues to win his matchups. Not every time. Jake is still an elite defender, who occasionally breaks through, but far more often than anyone expected. By the 20th play, frustration has consumed Jake entirely. He lines up wider than usual. "You got lucky," Jake spits. "Time to show you what happens to pretenders." The ball is snapped. Jake takes 3 quick steps laterally, then cuts inside with explosive speed, his signature move that's devastated offensive linemen all season. But Danny is ready. He mirrors Jake's movement perfectly, shifts his weight to intercept the inside cut, and drives his shoulder directly into Jake's sternum. The collision echoes across the field. For a split second, both players are suspended in perfect balance. Then, physics takes over. Jake's feet leave the ground. His body spins horizontally through the air. He crashes onto his back, the impact forcing all breath from his lungs. The entire practice field goes silent, then erupts in chaos. Offensive linemen rush to Danny, pounding his pads, shouting in celebration. Defensive players stand frozen, unable to process what they've just witnessed. Jake remains on the ground, staring up at the sky, the world tilted on its axis. Coach Miller blows his whistle repeatedly, trying to restore order. That's practice. Hit the showers. Players slowly disperse, still buzzing with excitement. Jake doesn't move. The locker room buzzes with animated conversations. Players replay Danny's pancake block in vivid detail, each retelling more dramatic than the last. Danny moves quietly through the celebration, accepting fist bumps with humility. He showers, changes, and packs his bag methodically. At the far end of the locker room, Jake sits alone on a bench. The team's athletic trainer wraps his wrist with tape, the only visible injury from his fall, but his expression reveals a deeper wound. Jake stares at the floor, replaying the moment in his mind. 4 years as the alpha, the unquestioned enforcer, undone in an instant. NFL scouts were watching, teammates were watching. Everyone saw. The trainer finishes and pats Jake's shoulder before walking away. Jake remains motionless, a statue of wounded pride. Players file out in groups heading to Friday night activities. Danny is among the last to leave. He walks down. The row of lockers, equipment bags slung over his shoulder. As he passes Jake, he slows. Their eyes meet briefly. Jake waits for it. The gloating, the trash talk, the righteous payback for weeks of torment. He almost wishes for it. Anger would be easier to handle than this hollow feeling in his chest. But Danny just nods. See you tomorrow, Brick. 4 simple words. No malice, no triumph, just acknowledgement. Respect, even. Jake opens his mouth, but no retort comes. For the first time in his football career, Jake Callahan has no comeback. Danny continues toward the exit, joining the offensive linemen waiting by the door. They throw their arms around him, their newest brother-in-arms. Jake watches them leave, their laughter fading down the hallway. He's alone now in the silent locker room. He finishes taping his wrist, flexes his hand, and stands up. His reflection catches in a mirror across the room. Same body, same face, but something's different. Something fundamental has shifted. Jake grabs his bag and heads for the door. He pauses at the threshold, looking back at the empty room, then forward to where Danny and the offensive line disappeared. For the first time, Jake feels like the outsider, the one who doesn't belong. He steps into the hallway, his footsteps echoing against the concrete. Ahead, he can still hear the offensive linemen's voices. Danny's among them. Jake quickens his pace slightly, following the sound. Saturday evening. Eastvale Stadium pulses with energy. The stands overflow with fans in blue and gold. Bands play. Cheerleaders perform. Inside the home team tunnel, players bounce on their toes, slap each other's pads, and channel nervous energy into pre-game rituals. Danny stands near the front, his game jersey crisp and new. Number 72. He stares ahead at the sliver of field visible beyond the tunnel mouth, his expression a mixture of focus and wonder. The offensive linemen surround him, a protective circle of massive bodies. They've adopted Danny completely, faster than anyone could have predicted. "You ready for this, Foster?" the starting center asks, pounding Danny's shoulder pad. Danny nods, his movements precise and deliberate. "Been ready my whole life." At the back of the gathering, Jake adjusts his gloves, trying to ignore the hollow feeling that's persisted since yesterday. His teammates give him space, unsure where he stands now in the team's hierarchy. Coach Miller moves through the players, giving last-minute instructions. He stops at Danny. "Foster, you've earned this spot. Trust your technique, trust your training, and you'll be fine." Danny nods. "Yes, Coach." Coach moves on, catching Jake's eye briefly before continuing down the line. No words exchanged, but the message is clear. Prove yourself today. The stadium announcer's voice booms through the tunnel. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your Eastvale Eagles." Players tense, ready to charge onto the field. Danny takes a deep breath, squaring his shoulders. A figure appears beside him. Jake. Their eyes meet. The team waits for something to happen. Another confrontation, perhaps. A final power struggle before they face their opponent. Instead, Jake extends his hand. Good luck out there. Surprise ripples through the nearest players. Danny looks at the offered hand, then at Jake's face. You too, Danny says, clasping Jake's hand firmly. The tunnel erupts with noise as players begin their charge onto the field. Danny and Jake move forward with the tide, side by side, the unlikeliest of allies. As they reach the mouth of the tunnel, bright lights flooding their vision, Jake leans closer to Danny. Try not to pancake me too hard if we end up against each other. Danny doesn't break stride, but as they emerge onto the field, the roar of the crowd washing over them, a small smile forms at the corner of his mouth.